everyone. I am so thrilled to be here this evening for the live tonight. And in this live, we are going to talk all about oral health and in the context of trying to conceive. So, how it can affect your fertility, your hormones for both men and women, the risks that it has during pregnancy, and what I would actually suggest doing in terms of your oral health. So, very, very important topic tonight, and something that a lot of people don't really consider. And perhaps it's something that you've missed in terms of your TTC journey or trying to conceive journey. Anyway, so we're talking about oral health, okay? So, when I learnt about this topic, I just found it completely mind blowing, and it was something that even back when I discovered this, I hadn't considered that it would be a thing at all. It's just unbelievable that it would have such an impact to fertility in both men and women. So if you have any questions or comments as we go through this evening, just pop them in the comments box below. I would love to answer them for you. Even if you're watching this after the live, just pop them there for me and I'll answer them later. Now, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Michelle Cooke and I'm a hormone and fertility naturopath. So let's get cracking. So I hope that you've already had your dinner, because in terms of oral hygiene, it's probably not the most sexiest topic to talk about. And for that matter, I hope that if you have had your dinner, you can hold it down. So just bear with me. It's a very important one to cover. So let's get into it. Now, what does oral health have to do with fertility anyway? Now, when I'm talking about oral health, I'm referring not only to the health of your teeth, but the health of your gums as well. So both those things. And things like this show that your oral health isn't in a good way. So it could be gingivitis, which is inflammation of the gums. It could be periodontitis, which is basically gum disease. It could be a tooth abscess, so there's like a big sort of bulge of pus near the tooth that indicates some sort of bacterial infection. Or it could be caries, which basically is tooth decay or cavities, okay, in terms of the teeth. So it could be any number of those things, but basically all of them are pointing to bacterial infection. Now, the bacteria doesn't just cause havoc in your mouth, it actually causes havoc throughout the whole body, because the thing is, it spreads the love and moves throughout the body. So isn't that lovely? Much of you, yeah, very intrigued. Yeah, it's bizarre. And you'll see just how important it is in terms of fertility. It's just absolutely paramount to be looking at this. So let's dive into it. So in terms of male fertility, so for the lads, what does that mean for them? So there's actually a link between oral hygiene and all of these things. And it's in the research. This isn't something that I'm making up. There's plenty of research papers that are showing this. So there's a link between poor oral hygiene and azoospermia. So what does that mean? That means there's no sperm in the semen sample. So the semen is the fluid that's surrounding the sperm basically. So there's none found in there. Oligospermia, so low sperm count in the semen. So that's really, really scary, isn't it? Erectile dysfunction is another one. Isn't that crazy? Just linked to all the bacterial infection in your mouth. Poor sperm motility. So that's the ability of that sperm to swim properly in an upward direction towards the egg. So that's not happening. It impacts the acrosome reaction. So basically the sperm has like a little beanie over it, okay? And when it's going to implant into the egg, there's this acrosome kind of reaction that happens. It's kind of like a pheromone kind of thing that goes on, just to sort of describe it very simplistically. And when it loses its little beanie, then it can actually implant into the egg and be fertilized and fertilize the egg. But obviously, if the acrosome reaction doesn't happen, it still has its little beanie on and it can't actually fertilize the egg. So that's an issue. So the ways that it can impact sperm. So there's a few different reasons why this can happen. And this is thought to be because there's an increased bacterial load associated with that chronic infection in the oral cavity that leads to the oral disease. And what can happen is bacteriospermia. So it's bad bacteria found in the semen. So isn't that amazing? So you've got some sort of gum or sort of oral disease there, or in your teeth, etc., in the oral cavity, and that actually spreads to the semen or the seminal fluid that the sperm are swimming in. So there's actually bad bacteria found in there, and that actually impacts sperm motility, so the ability for it to move up towards the egg in the right direction. And I know breakdancing is so cool when a sperm does that, sort of swimming around in circles, but we really want it to actually go straight up towards the egg. We don't want it to be doing those cool moves, as cool as they are. The other thing that can happen is elevated pro-inflammatory cytokines. So they regulate inflammation. But when you have oral disease, so disease in the gums or teeth, it leads to chronic systemic inflammation. What does that mean? Systemic means that it's inflammation occurring all over the body, okay? So it's widespread. And that leads to sperm apoptosis. What does that mean? That's sperm death, basically. So you're losing sperm. Fascinating, isn't it? And of course, if your sperm are dying off, that leads to a lower sperm count, of course. Really detrimental stuff. There was this one particular study that I found, as I said, there's several describing this link to fertility, but it showed that 33% of women undergoing IVF were able to conceive after the men had dental treatment. So they went and got their teeth cleaned and a checkup, and to assess if there was any bacteria, and they had that addressed, and it actually improved their IVF success. So we need to remember that this is the case whether or not you're actually trying to conceive through IVF or naturally. It's either or, okay? It's going to impact fertility either way. So what does it mean for the ladies then? So for the ladies, there is a link towards that poor oral hygiene and the following. So it can increase the risk of miscarriage, unexplained infertility. So unexplained infertility is an interesting one. I believe there's always a reason or several reasons why fertility is not taking place. I just feel like you haven't been thoroughly assessed and there's more to the picture. And as we can see today, looking at oral health is an implication in terms of unexplained infertility. So this may very well be the one thing you might have not considered. It's very, very important. Now, it can actually reduce the ability to conceive each month, so fecundability or fecundity. It's actually implicated also in PCOS and in endometriosis. So if you have any one of those conditions, make sure that you're going to the dentist to get that oral checkup as well. During pregnancy, it's very risky. It can actually increase the risk of intrauterine infection, and this can actually increase the risk of preterm birth. So you're 2 to 7 times more likely to actually experience preterm birth. So the baby is actually delivered too early. The other issue is low birth weight. Preeclampsia, which is very, very dangerous to have during pregnancy. You have a high blood pressure and a high amount of protein found in the urine, which is detrimental to both yourself and the baby. It can also increase the risk of premature rupture of membranes and increase the risk of gestational diabetes, all from oral hygiene. That's crazy, isn't it? In fact, the oral microbiome that they've actually discovered quite recently in the last few sort of recent years, they've discovered that it's quite similar to the placental microbiome. And a microbiome is basically a collection or a little community of good bacteria. So we have different kind of microbiomes in different areas throughout the body. So the oral microbiome, so the little family or community of bacteria found in your mouth, is actually similar to that of the placenta, which is really, really fascinating. Now, so what can you do to actually support oral health? So I'll give you some tips today, and this is going to be absolutely, paramount in improving and increasing, your fertility. It's hard to get the words out today for some reason. So what would I recommend? I would recommend regular dental visits, of course. So go in for regular checkups, get a good clean. When they're doing the checkups for you, they can diagnose, treat, and prevent any periodontal disease and infection. They can also do a bacterial swab in the mouth as well to see what types of bacteria are there, so that they can implement some sort of treatment plan for you to actually address that bacteria in the mouth. Now, for healthy gums and teeth care, these are some natural suggestions that I would recommend using. So you can use things like CoQ10. So CoQ10 is a really great one for oral health. It can also help if your gums are receding, which can also happen as a result from a bacterial infection in the mouth. So keep that in mind. Another idea would be a botanical mouthwash. So there's a lot of beautiful mouthwashes that are available at a health food store. Some brands that I would recommend are Essential Oxygen Rinse. That's a particularly good one. It has some organic ingredients as well. A lot of these mouthwashes contain herbal medicine or essential oils that are antimicrobial, antibacterial, so they're particularly good for oral health. Another brand would be Riddell's Creek, that's also organic as well. Vogel make one called Dentaforce. My Magic Mud, they make an organic mouth rinse. Grants make a xylitol mouthwash, and we'll talk about xylitol as well and the importance of that in terms of oral and dental hygiene. Jason Power Smile, that's another great one too. And Oromir, I think that's how you pronounce it. It's an Ayurvedic mouthwash. That's another great one too. Now, xylitol chewing gum, that's another good thing that you could actually start using. Spry is a well-known brand that's in a lot of health food stores in Australia that you can get very readily. And xylitol actually decreases the risk of dental caries, so that's tooth decay, by increasing saliva flow and pH. It's a pH kind of reducing plaque that happens, and it reduces the bacteria from actually sticking to your teeth and forming sort of gum inflammation and infection as a result. So that's why that's a good one to use. Also xylitol mouth spray, that's another one to do. So again, it's stopping the adherence, or basically the bacteria. It stops it from sticking to your teeth. So Spry is a brand that makes the xylitol mouthwash, so keep an eye out for that one as well. Regular brushing. It goes without saying that brushing your teeth is really, really important to prevent bacterial infection in the mouth and thus improve your fertility. So I would recommend using toothpaste that is fluoride free. We get plenty of fluoride through fresh fruits and vegetables. We don't need that extra hit. And in fact, that type of fluoride is derived from aluminium vats, so it's kind of derived from waste products, so that's not good for your fertility. It actually impacts the absorption of iodine, which your thyroid needs to function. And remember, your thyroid is absolutely key in terms of your fertility. So some good brands that you can get from health food stores would be Grant's. There's also Weleda. My Magic Mud again, and Dr. Bronner's are all very good brands. Now, flossing is another good idea as well. So just making sure you have that as part of your routine as well. Just to get any sort of, little bits of food that are stuck in between the teeth, sorry. So again, non-toxic fluoride free is the best to go for. So Dr. Tongue's is a great brand that does a smart floss. And the Allodent floss is another great one too. There's plenty of other ones that you can get from a health food store. Oil pulling. Now this is a real interesting one. So it's basically an Ayurvedic practice, but this is a really nice one to do as well if you can manage it. So using an oil like coconut oil or sesame oil, you swish it around in the mouth, and the idea is that you work the time frame up to 20 minutes. So it is a little bit difficult to get there in the beginning. You may want to sort of start with getting up to 2 minutes, and then up to 3, and then eventually as close as you can to 20 minutes. And what this does is it actually forms an emulsion, so a bit of a like detergent-like substance in your mouth. And it's fat soluble, of course, because it's an oil. So this is good at disrupting the biofilms. So basically all those sort of bad bacteria have this little bubble that it hides under to protect itself. So bacteria are very, very clever, and they will hide under this biofilm to basically live and survive and thrive. So basically by doing that oil pulling, you're actually breaking down that bubble, that the protective bubble that's protecting that bad bacteria, so that you can sort of get in there and swoosh it out. And basically because biofilms are fat loving, so that little protective bubble actually likes fat, it actually will join onto that oil that you're using, and it will be easily expelled out of the body that way. So oil pulling isn't enough on its own. So basically you could start with the oil pulling, sort of swish around, maybe watch a little bit of TV while you're waiting and keep yourself occupied, and then actually spit that out into the bin. And then after that you would brush your teeth to actually dislodge and eliminate that bacteria. So very, very important stuff, isn't it? And I'm sure it's something you actually haven't considered before, but this is absolutely paramount for your fertility. So usually when I see patients and they come in to see me, this is something that I'm asking them about. When was the last time you went to see the dentist? How often do you go? Have you, do you get a regular clean? Have you had a swab in the mouth to check if there's any bacteria? Do you have any pain, etc., or signs of infection? And it's very, very important to actually start doing that even before you start trying to conceive, because generally the treatment from a dentist, if they actually find bad bacteria there, is antibiotics. So of course you kind of want to sort of get that done well and truly before you start conceiving. And definitely taking a probiotic as well, so that you make sure that your good bacteria is not impacted by the antibiotic, is very important. So any questions? So much are you? Yes, I need to get to the dentist for a clean soon. Thanks for the reminder. Yeah, it's important, isn't it, Erin? And in terms of appointments and things like that, it can often go astray because we're all busy and that kind of thing. But keeping on top of it is absolutely paramount for reproductive health, that's for sure. So please, 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 if you're trying to conceive, whether it be naturally or through IVF, make sure that you're looking at dental hygiene, because this is really detrimental to your fertility, and it may be the factor that you've actually been missing, as I've mentioned earlier. So thank you so, so very much for tuning in this evening. It means a lot to me, and I've thoroughly enjoyed sharing this with you this evening, and I hope that you have too. If you have any questions, as I said earlier, just pop them in the comments box below and I will answer them later. And I will see you next week, same time, 7:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time on Wednesday night, to talk about something hormone and fertility related. If you are watching this on my YouTube channel, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you next week. Thanks so much, everybody. Bye.